can't sell them, okay, and that's the reality. But I'll say there's, look, I can see how this is really attractive, and it's tough not to kind of want to do it, right? But what I can tell you for sure is that I will never have to tell you I'm sorry. And if you're willing to deal with potentially having that guy come in and say, hey man, I'm sorry it didn't work, but guess what, I got the new one now, I got the 419s that are already blowing up, like, oh, you know, and I'll literally have that real conversations. I'm never gonna have to tell you I'm sorry. And we've been dealing with each other for this long, and really, I'm never gonna buy that from my own family, even though I could buy it and make a commission off myself and get all this benefits and go along with it just like you. I'm gonna be more risky with my other stuff and really make sure that the thing that's gotta be there forever to take care of my family is done with no risk.
So I think, and I told you before, I'm a terrible salesperson, so for me I have to do construction. And I think if you say, you don't have to say I'm sorry, the other agent can say, but we can fund this with guarantees, so you always have at least your death benefit like you have with Mass Mutual. And then you're back at, well, but it's important to me, and the client doesn't really care what's important to you. Remember, the client thinks that you're trying to sell them snake oil, right? And they don't really care what's important to it. They care about what's important to them, and they're thinking they're operating from greed. So there's a whole lot of things you can do. But if you understand that in the contract, that in a client that they can reduce their cap and reduce their participation. If you show them the articles that went on in the Wall Street Journal this year that talked about how companies are reducing their cap and reducing their participation and what it does to the policy, if you show them that it's not the S&P, but it's the S&P without the dividends, if you took $100 a year and you put it into the S&P for all of these years and it compounded, it would have been worth X. If you took away the dividends and you added caps and ceilings and participation rates, it would have been worth nil. It would have been worth nothing, and you can go back to any period of time.
Yeah, 60% of the return is with dividends.
Yeah.
So you take those out, what do you have?
Nothing. You have zilch. When you look at what the 0%.
In the standard, in the index universal life, it is 60.
Yeah, there's no dividend. So if the S&P average is 7 or 8%, but without the dividend, you take away 3.4% of the return. It's a nothing contract. So, and if you look at sequence of returns, which does have a big impact, and the answer is, if you're doing this for accumulation, frankly, you're better off just buying the S&P. If it's long-term money, which all insurance contract money is long-term money, you're better off just buying the S&P. Don't waste your time and pay those ridiculous fees. I'd rather you buy nothing and just invest your money in the SPICA, because you'll have 10 times the amount of money. This cap and floors, it's smoke and mirrors, it's illusion. Think about what happened in the universal life business when A.L. Williams, whatever their name was, came out and talked about how bad whole life was. It's 17% credited rate on your life insurance today. And all the whole life policyholders went to those garbage companies and those garbage contracts, which failed. Minimum funded, failed. And you have to get, and again, you just have to get, if you have the knowledge around those contracts, and I think there's some people in the home office that could probably help you, and if you pull me aside later, I'll show you some of the things that I've done. I have this good client, and the one that hired the insurance counselor, because his brother-in-law said, hey, I bought this garbage policy called IUL, and blah, 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 blah. Well, you're better off in variable life than you are with IUL, believe it or not. But the best product that you can sell is that specialty black box product that gives you money when you want and or need it the most. Does it have waiver? How old's the person?
It's a survivorship. It's
You can blow that up 17 ways from Thursday. How old are the people?
55.
I'll go right in here and say, so survivorship is obviously to hedge the estate tax, correct?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say to him, you've worked this long and this hard, and what I'm going to create for you is absolute certainty that money passes more efficiently to your family, friends, and charities without question. If you choose to use and deploy this strategy, it's very possible when it's too late that doesn't happen because the insurance is not enforced. So why take all of this work that you've done and put it at risk over here? What I would suggest is if you're really hell-bent on doing this, do it inside of your estate for accumulation vehicle and have certainty outside of your estate in an island.